Hi everyone, welcome back to the 5D Pop Culture website and YouTube channel. Um, I want to talk today about a subject that I know a lot of people have been talking about over the last few months. Um, what am I adding anything to the conversation about this particular TV series? I don't know. The reason I wanted to talk about this was the impact it's kind of had on me personally. It's immediately gone into my top 10 favorite ever TV series. I When I say top 10, I don't actually have a top 10 as such. I couldn't name them because it would change probably about every day. But you got the likes of Band of Brothers is in there, The Wire is in there, Breaking Bad is in there, The Walking Dead is in there, and there's a few others as well. Severance. I want to talk about Severance. Severance has, wow. I mean, it's difficult to overstate this in some ways. I don't want to be hyperbolic and go, "Oh my god, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen," because it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen. But it's gee whiz, it's way up there. This science fiction psychological thriller that I'll be honest, when it came out in 2022, I think it was 2022, I wasn't that impressed with the first episode. I remember watching the first episode with my wife, and we both watched it and went, "It's okay, ish." But it wasn't great, or it didn't have an impact. Now, whether or not that was the time, the state of mind I was in at the time, or whether it was some other factor, I don't know. Because I kind of left it. I've got a lot of stuff that I like on Apple TV Plus, and started watching Foundation and a range of other things. And then it was in the last sort of 6 months or so where um, it was just like everywhere. Everywhere I looked, people were talking about Severance, Severance, Severance. And I did that thing, which I always do, where I kind of thought, no, everybody's talking about it. What's it Groucho Marx said? I don't want to belong to any club that will have me as a member. It's been like that through my life, where now everybody likes this. I'll be different, I'm not going to be part of part of the mob, the crowd, or whatever. So I kind of ignored it a wee bit until a couple of months ago, where I just couldn't ignore it anymore. People kept going on. People at where I work was, "Have you watched Severance?" Well, I tried it, didn't like it. What do you mean, didn't like it? So this kind of fan base that's grown from this series that's some people could suggest it's been hidden away on Apple TV Plus. But I want to kind of just recap a few things. I know most of you guys that may be sort of looking at this will have seen Severance. Like I say, am I adding anything new? I don't know. I just want to talk for a few minutes, not much in terms of special effects or anything like that, about this program that, geez, kind of moved me big time. For those that don't know, Severance is a kind of science fiction thriller, conspiracy ish. I don't know. About employees that have had a surgical intervention. In other words, they've had part of their brain surgically modified, something like an implant or something, and basically it makes them forget while they're at work. The period when they're at work, when they arrive at work, they're what they call the outies, so they're normal type person. And then as soon as they enter the building, something clicks in, and they immediately then go into their innie mode and become the employer of Lumon Industries. This kind of really unknown quantity in terms of what this company actually does. And that's essentially the premise, the basic premise that these people then have done something which many of us kind of have probably thought over the years. Well, maybe I could do that. I don't want to bring my work problems home with me. I have a job that I like, but it's quite a stressful job. And so, sometimes you come home and you kind of try and shake it off. And sometimes I'll wake up during the night and think, oh my God, I've got to go into work next day to sort this out or that out or whatever it might be. Um, and we've often thought, well, maybe if I could just forget about that. This is kind of like looking at that particular that particular option that has been used in this particular situation. So, as I say, this series started back in 2022. I gave it a go. As I say, thought it's okay. I heard that Ben Stiller was involved in it. I heard that Ben Stiller, I love Ben Stiller. I heard that he was involved in not appearing in it, but directing parts of it, and it was responsible for partly, I think, writing part of it. I think, but also heavily involved in terms of producing, directing, and so forth. And so you have this main quartet of characters, and it's the things I love about this series, because I started watching it again, as I say. I started watching it when, what we're now in timestamp. It's, what the hell is it? It's April 2025. So I started watching it just as it was coming up to the end of season 2. So I went back, watched episode 1 again. So this would have been around about February time, something like that, end of January, February time this year. And I went back and I thought, right, I'm going to give it a go. I want to be part of the crowd eventually, and kind of, I kind of, succumbed to, peer pressure and all this stuff. And I thought, right, I'm going to give it at least 3 episodes just to give it a chance. Oh my God, by the third, fourth episode, I began to see totally what everybody was saying. What people were going on about, what I'd missed the first time. The first episode, yeah, it's a series, and that first episode is a great example of the pacing. The pacing is often quite slow. You can be watching 10-15 minutes of it, and you can be wondering what the hell's happening in that 10 minutes. In terms of the pacing, it's very different from many other kind of like boom, boom, boom in your face type programs. And you have this kind of these 4 main characters that it's based upon. I've got them here written, so just in case I forget some of them, which I'm sure I will as well. You've got Mark Scout, or Mark S, as his inner name is known as, played by Adam Scott. You have, and Adam Scott is his character is a kind of grieving widower. One of the main reasons why he's had this severance is because of the pain that he felt when his wife died, when his wife sort of died about a year or 2 before. You have Britt Lauer, who plays Helly R. She appears in the first episode. The first scene is her on the table being kind of like, acclimatized to this new role. You have Irvin, played by the incredible, and all the cast are incredible, but I've always had a soft spot for John Turturro, which I can never say. I've loved John Turturro since, oh God, Her Brother Where Art Thou, The Big Lebowski. Oh Brother Where Art Thou is just one of my favourite films ever, and I still laugh when I think about some of the line, particularly some of the scenes that he was in. And you have Zachary Cherry, who plays Dylan. Those are kind of the 4 main characters, and then you've got this incredible ensemble cast, not a supporting cast as such, because each of them have their own, as the series goes on, have their own kind of selects episodes and kind of concentration on their area. So you've got Tromel Tillman. I paused there for a moment because Tromel Tillman, I think, I could be wrong in saying, but Tillman's role, I believe this is his first major role. He plays Mr. Melchick. He's kind of one of the supervisors, one of their kind of main contact initially. These 4 workers. My God, this guy's going to be huge in terms of appearances. He is so good, so nuanced, so complex. His character, you think it's one thing, and then he appears to be something else, and he goes back to being something else. You get all these kind of layers that he brings to this that could have been really kind of like a comic book kind of character. And yes, there are aspects of him which are, and aspects of this series which are quite kind of Twin Peaksy in terms of abstract and weird and so forth. And you think, what the hell's going on here? As you watch this, you kind of start becoming engrossed with these characters and their lives. You have Christopher Walken, who plays Bert. Christopher Walken. Who doesn't love Christopher Walken? I love Christopher Walken. And you have Rosanna Arquette as well, who appears in this as well. You've also got this incredible sort of supporting cast of a who's who of faces that you're all not major names, but names that you would, or people, faces that you would recognise. And I was in the first episode, or the first 2 or 3 episodes. I was delighted to see Yul Vasquez. Yul Vasquez, we were lucky enough to speak to a couple of years ago now, a few years ago, here on the 5D Pop Culture website. Yul has been in, good God, tons of stuff. The Outsider, we were talking mainly from that series. But Yul appears in the 2 or 3 episodes, and he plays one of the ex-colleagues of I've got his name, Mark's character, friend and colleague who had just left some time before, and he reappears and he's tried to have this kind of this procedure removed because he says there's stuff going on that these people need to be aware about. I'm not going to give too many spoilers away in terms of what takes place, because you've got this narrative that happens particularly in the first series where these innies, the people that are working in for Lumos, start to question not just their existence but start to question what they're being told and what they're doing. They're getting snippets of their other life. We don't know anything about some of these characters. We get to know quite a lot about Mark's character, but some of the others, Heliar's character, and her character, she is just brilliant. I mean, Britt Hour's performance, excellent. Can I say that she's gorgeous? Yes, she is. She's got this walk that is mesmerising. But her relationship with Mark is one of the cornerstones of this, and it's beautiful. You get to. It's weird how you get to identify and with these characters, and I've often thought one of the main strengths of any particular TV series or film, whatever, but particularly TV series that you kind of become invested over time, is becoming invested with those characters. And my God, they're not just sympathetic, but you start to not just love what they're doing and how they what they're trying to achieve, but also as well that final. I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but it's just all these things now hit my head. The season 1 finale. I don't think. Well, I know I did, but I didn't feel as if I breathed for at least 20 minutes of that final episode, because they're trying to. Without giving too much away, they're trying to identify some aspects of their private lives, because they don't know anything about it. They don't know why they're in this situation. Some of them are trying to get out of it because they don't like this kind of separation that's now taken place. The inners. And it's these unbelievable attempts that they have to kind of escape. So you've got, I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into these explorations of these philosophical explorations of corporate control and autonomy and that sort of thing, personal autonomy. There are people far more intelligent than I am that could talk about that, but I really want to talk about. The acting is incredible. The narrative, the storyline, season 2. Some people say season 2 maybe, while being strong, maybe not quite as strong as season 1. I would disagree. Potentially, I'm thinking. I'm not sure. Maybe season 1 was so strong. Season 2 is maybe slightly more uneven. But season 2 finishes at the point where, and it only finished around about March of this year, but it finished on the point where it sets it up nicely for season 3. The final scene of season 2 is something that put me in mind of a couple of things. It kind of reminded me a little bit of one of the final scenes of The Graduate, with Dustin Hoffman's character, Mrs. Robinson, kind of running. I won't say who was running, but these two characters are running along the corridor. Also put me in mind a little bit the final scene, because it just freezes kind of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid back in the late 60s, early 70s. That final scene, it's filmed in a way. This particular series is incredible. A lot of it takes place in the basements kind of areas of where they're working in the buildings, but there are certain scenes, particularly in season 2, where they go off on a kind of corporate sort of like team building sort of event, and it's filmed God knows where in sort of like Northern America in the snow and so forth. beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. The visual style of this series is incredible, both in these kind of very sometimes quite claustrophobic areas that they're kind of filming in. Or it felt claustrophobic to me, but also in these kind of wider contexts. The locations are just absolutely gorgeous. The multiple cliffhangers that are left, not just to the main characters, but to all the characters. And this is one of the things I love about this is that time is being given to characters that you initially think are going to be quite minor in some ways, and but each character has a complexity that is staggering. You have the Innes in season 2. One of the Innes being given the chance to speak with his real wife, his wife, who comes to visit, and those scenes are absolutely incredible. The relationship between John Turturro's character and Christopher Walken's character is beautiful. It's gorgeous. The relationship between Mark and Heliar, this relationship between these two, is beautiful. There's also a subtext of Mark's outie his wife, as whether actually she is still alive or not. There are numerous, as we go along in the series, I said there would be no spoilers. Maybe I'll put something in the thing saying there are spoilers. But there are numerous narratives hinting at what is Lumos, this company, actually really up to, and these become quite explicit as we go further into the series, without really explaining a huge amount. If you're one of these people, one of those annoying people that like everything to be explained, I'm not going to point fingers, but my wife is one of these, who wants everything explained at the end. And I kind of understand that. Some people do like everything kind of wrapped up and explained, and yep. I always like myself, and it doesn't make me any better, it just makes me what I like. But I do like to have questions at the end, and boy, are there a lot of questions, particularly at the end of season 2. Sorry, I can hear a truck outside my house possibly now. I'll try and minimise that sound when I come to do my editing. In terms of the this series, as you can gather, boy was I wrong when I first watched that first episode, and I thought, boy was I wrong. Give these series sometimes a second chance, because man, I was bowled over. I've only scratched the surface, and like I say, the people that probably added far more than I have to this whole kind of. I'm not really done an analysis. It's just really a kind of just ramble, I guess, about a series that had such a genuine impact on me. I'm not just saying this. I haven't been paid to say this. I haven't been influenced to say this. If I hadn't have liked it, I would have said so to people I worked with. But these beautiful performances, I can't emphasize enough how each of them. I mean, Adam Scott, who I'd seen in quite a number of things, I thought he was it's great, he was fine. But my God, his performance, John Turturro. Often he'll be just doing something with his eyes. That's it. The expression in his eyes, particularly with the scenes with him and Christopher Walken's character, absolutely so expressive, so beautiful. The conflict, Helly's conflict, trying to, she's one of the main ones who's trying to liberate herself from this kind of severance, and then she finds out things about her out his life, her real life, that is kind of like, oh my God, this is completely shocking. I didn't see it coming. So the finales are great. It's very funny. It's funny to the point sometimes you're laughing, and I'm not too sure why, because sometimes it's almost ridiculous in some of the things it's exploring, in some of the scenes that take place. The goats, you'll know what I mean if you've seen the series, but the goats, what the hell's all that about? And the way that they talk, this kind of corporate speak that many of us who've worked in situations where management and whoever have talked in this way, that you think this is not how people really talk, but we're going to cascade that information. That was one time my manager said that to me, or said that in a meeting. Yeah, I'll cascade the information to you all. He'll do what? Oh, he'll give us the information. Is that what he meant? Okay, cascade the information. So you've kind of got this kind of exploration of corporations and that sort of thing, but it's a thriller. It's a science fiction. There are aspects of this in terms of philosophical things it's looking at, but don't let that put you off if you haven't seen it thinking, oh God, it's going to be real heavy, because it's not. It is incredibly funny. It's beautifully directed. You can tell, I think, the particular episodes that Ben Stiller has directed. There is a kind of slightly more abstract feel maybe to his episodes. I'm thinking maybe that's just because I've looked and seen which ones he's kind of directed himself. Oh yeah, you could tell that. So maybe I've done that kind of confirmation bias type thing. But his episodes are great. So yeah, what I would say is if you haven't had a chance, go and have a watch of it. You won't regret it, I promise you. And I will speak to you again in, well, another episode where I'm going to be talking. I think the next one's going to be looking at some tabletop news stuff, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe it'll be another few months before I pull my finger out and get something sorted out. See you all next time. Okay, bye bye.